Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. How are we all doing? We're going to be talking about Pochettino waiting on PSG for the Manchester United job. We're going to be talking about transfer snubs in the summer as two midfielders that would be ideal midfielders for United next season basically turn their back on United moves. We'll talk about that as well. Excuse me. We'll also be talking about Akanji. I watched him tonight for Switzerland, seen him a few times. What were your thoughts on him? Tchouaméni, also Kamara. What's the latest with him? There's developments around Kamara at Marseille, as well as Anthony Martial. But we're going to start off with Pochettino waiting on PSG as well. We're going to start off with England have just beaten Switzerland, actually. And Luke Shaw's just come out with comments after the game that have set a few tongues wagging, I suppose. He basically said it's always important to feel like you're wanted, and I think especially here with England I always feel that. I'm not saying I don't feel it at Man United, but here the way things are I feel wanted and I enjoy my football. It's hard to enjoy your football when you're losing and we're not playing well at club level. We have to face that. This season it's not been good enough, so it's hard to enjoy. Look, I like Luke Shaw. I think if you don't like Luke Shaw, you'll use it as a reason to say fuck off and play for England then full time. I mean, ultimately, these footballers get pulled out, they get asked questions, and sometimes you wander into avenues you don't want to. Remember, it was only a few months ago that Luke Shaw was basically saying that the United team weren't playing for each other after we had a disappointing result. So, Luke Shaw, is he a little bit too honest? I don't know. But the reality is, I don't have a massive problem with what he said. He enjoys playing for England more than he enjoys playing for Man United. He didn't actually say that, but you can read that he's not enjoying playing for United because it's not going well. And with England, he always feels like he enjoys it, and he feels like he's wanted. Look, I like Luke Shaw, so I'm not digging him out here, but what I would say is that there's a world of difference between being managed by Gareth Southgate and being a Manchester United player. I mean, also, playing for England, you play with the best players that England have got. You're always going to qualify. You're going to go to a tournament. No one's going to expect you to win it. And if you get to a quarter-final, a semi-final or a final, people think you're bloody heroes. So, I mean, being an England player is pretty fucking easy, to be honest. And let's be honest, Southgate, it's not like being coached by Ten Hag or Pep, is it? I mean, it's Gareth Southgate. It basically is, let's get people behind the ball and rely on moments. It's not intricate training. It's not Pep Guardiola, is it? It's not false nines and intricate triangles and passing lanes. It's Gareth Southgate. I imagine, I don't blame Luke Shaw for saying he enjoys playing with England, because I imagine it's a piece of piss. It's not challenging. It's not entertaining. They're one of the most boring England teams I've ever watched. But they are quite effective. They do qualify. They do get to the latter stages of tournaments. But they're a boring team with a boring manager with low expectations. And I'm no doubt he enjoys that. If anything, I guarantee you Harry Maguire probably feels the same as well. But that just speaks volumes about the mentality of Manchester United players. They're not enjoying it at United because the pressure's too much. They can't deal with it. With England, they can deal with it. Low expectations, low standard of football. At Manchester United, high expectations, high standards. They can't live with those standards. So I don't really have a problem. I guarantee there's a few United players that enjoy international football more than they enjoy United at the moment. But ultimately, we've had a bad season, like Luke said. And I mean, if there is a Man United player that thinks playing for England's better than playing for Man United, well, look at the standard of the manager at England. Look at the expectations at England. Not won a trophy since '66. It's low standard football. It really is. Oh, you beat San Marino 22-0. Well done. So I'm not really interested. I mean, really, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. And Manchester United is a high standard, high pressure football club. And if you don't like it, then ultimately you've got to reflect on that yourself. Let's go. Our world-class striker in Martial is back. We will win the league if he's our striker, says Hugo. And I don't think Luke Shaw means the management at United. I think he might mean the squad and players. I feel him and Maguire have been bundled together, says Liam. As I said, I like Luke Shaw. Shaw needs to use the confidence from today to kick on at United, says Triggered Soul. I like Luke Shaw, but look, I like Luke Shaw, but can I just say this? There's been times this season, I've even done videos on it, where Tellez has been a viable option. And Luke's got to look at himself there. There has been times this season where, hand on heart, Luke Luke Shaw hasn't deserved to start ahead of Telles. I believe he's the better left back, but that's been a debate this season, so he's got to reflect on that himself. Doesn't matter whether he likes England, doesn't matter whether I mean, maybe Ronaldo's come in and give him a kick up the arse and they don't like it. I don't know. But the fact is, he's not had a very good season. He's got to self-reflect as well. Everybody in that team's got to self-reflect. Luke Shaw would be good for Everton, says Jayling's fam. Hope we get Ten Hag to work with Rangnick and Fletcher goes to Sky Sport News or something. Don't mind feeling, though, that brick wall needs him. Apparently he's keeping that brick wall up. You know, those dugouts, you know, where Sir Alex used to sit and where Rangnick sits now and all that brickwork. That's been there for a long time at United, and apparently Mike Phelan stands there leaning up against it because they're a little bit worried about it falling down. But on to more serious matters. How are we all doing? Thanks for watching the show. Please smash a like on the video. A few things to get through. We'll start off with the first story. I want to talk about Pochettino. I want to talk about a few other bits as well. But United face transfer snub. I don't know whether you saw this today. There is a story about United being in the running for Kamara from Marseille. I'll talk to that in a moment. The first two things I want to talk about is the situation with Paul Pogba. PSG apparently are really wanting Pogba. It could help United because PSG want Tchouaméni, but Pogba's the priority. This is coming from France today. I think Pogba will go to PSG, Real Madrid or Barcelona. I've always felt that. And we will see what happens with that. But Pogba, I mean, obviously that's a snub we're not surprised about. I think United would love to have Paul Pogba at United next season. I don't think he will be there. I think he's setting it up even in the international break. He's setting it up, isn't he? He's speaking about what's his role at United, the trophies that they've not won. I think Pogba's trying to depart United in a way where he's like, look, I've tried my best, it's not worked out, it's not on me, it's on the club. And you could see that. You can see that from Paul Pogba. Ultimately, what is his role at the club? Is that on him? Is that on the club? I think it's probably 50-50 and I think it's an amicable split that everyone should just accept. I've said that before, it's time to go. But it's still a snub for United because they'd like Pogba to stay. You've then got Yuri Tillemans coming out speaking on international duty. And I think it's always an interesting week for people who are looking to move because they have more freedom when they're not with their club. They're with their country, they get asked about it's the oldest trick in the book from journalists. A lot of journalists like going on international duty because they know they can get a juicy story about transfers. So Yuri Tillemans was asked about his future and he said, look, I wants to play Champions League football at a top club and feels he can do that either this summer or next summer. We'll have to wait and see. That rules United out. We know that Tillemans is being looked at by Bayern Munich. We know that there are clubs in Italy. We know there's clubs in Spain. He's been rumoured to be linked to people like Liverpool as well. Maybe even Arsenal will look at him. But again, it's another snub because we can't offer Champions League football. So we will not be in the race for Yuri Tillemans, whether we want to be or not, because we can't offer him Champions League football. And ultimately, I think Yuri Tillemans and some other players will look at United and be switched on enough to go, I've proved myself in the Premier League, proved myself at Leicester, and now I'm only going to leave Leicester because I want to play in the Champions League. And Man United could be a major step backwards because look at what's happened with Pogba. Look at what's happened with other players. It's not a guarantee of playing Champions League football. In fact, it can be a bloody massive headache. So it's another player that we probably need to rule ourselves and cross off the list. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Poch, appointment will break my heart. Glazes out, says Rudy. And given recent performances, I would choose Telles over Luke Shaw, as Telles offers a lot more. Any updates on Ten Hag, says Jack. We're going to talk about the manager situation in a moment, Jack. So I think we are going to have this problem. I don't know whether Arsenal are interested in Tillemans AFC. I know they want a midfielder. I think he'd be a very good player for Arsenal, Tillemans. In the current system that Arsenal are playing, I think he'd be good. But look, I'm not scouting for Arsenal. I think if Tillemans leaves, he'll end up going to Bayern Munich or Liverpool or Barcelona or something like that, because I think he's good enough to do that. I don't think he'd come to United. I don't think he'd come to United. And remember, we're talking that we're going to be in the Europa League. We could be in the Conference League. We could easily be in the Conference League. He's already in that. But there was a story in the Manchester Evening News today talking about Kamara of Marseille, which pricked my ears up a little bit. Manchester United back interested in Kamara, apparently. They were talking about how, I think it's Spurs... Bayern Munich, Spurs and Atletico Madrid interested in Kamara. Manchester United are back in the race as well. Well, look, I can see Tillemans playing for Bayern Munich, and that's nothing to do with us. Again, we're not a Leicester channel, but Kamara, a player that United are back in for. And, you know, instantly when I read that story, if there's any truth in it, and you don't know, but Kamara is available for nothing in the summer. And Marseille were desperately in January trying to get somebody to just give them 10 million euro. Just give them something, because a bit like Zakaria, Mönchengladbach ended up getting 5 million out of Juventus. They'd have got no million in the summer because he would have been out of contract. Marseille were desperately trying to palm him off to somebody just to get a little bit of money, and nobody did it. So Kamara is now available for free. It's interesting, isn't it? Because if United go for Kamara in the summer and miss out to another club, we'll only have ourselves to blame. And the reason I say that is because Kamara was one of the 3 players that Ralf Rangnick suggested to Manchester United in January. And the board said, and we mustn't forget this, the board said, we're not buying players in January because the new manager in the summer is going to come in, and it's wrong to buy players when the new manager hasn't got a say in it. And yet we may end up going for that same player again, and we may miss out on him when we could have got him in January. I mean, realistically, we could have got Kamara for 10 million euro, maybe even a little bit less. And we said, no, we're not going to do that. And yet we're back linked to him again. It's just another indication of how haphazard United's approach has been from the moment they unwillingly sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And let's not forget, they didn't want to sack Solskjaer. They allowed a 5-0 loss, a humiliation at Old Trafford to our biggest rival, and still stood by him. It was only because he got his arse handed on a plate 2 more times after that they had to sack him. And ever since then, I think we've been lurching through uncertainty. Ever since we sacked Solskjaer, it's been a catalogue of errors, which is still being compounded by the fact that we don't have a manager. And it's really interesting, you know, because Gravenberch is being spoken to by Bayern Munich, who clearly wants a midfielder. And Kessie's already agreed to do a deal with Barcelona. And I was having a bit of a debate with somebody on social media a couple of days ago, because I was saying that not having a manager in place now is going to harm us in the summer. And they were like, some transfers are done in the summer. It won't matter if we get a manager in June. I was like, well, it will, because you're negotiating with players now. But with Kamara, that's a player, whether we want him or not, we probably won't get. Because if Spurs want him, or Atletico Madrid want him, or Bayern Munich want him, he's out of contract in the summer. So they can speak to him now. It's not tapping up. Kamara plays in France. As long as it's not PSG, who can't do it because it's the same league, English clubs, German clubs, Spanish clubs, they can all speak to Kamara today and offer him a deal to join them next summer. We can't do that because we haven't got a manager. So if you like Kamara, probably say goodbye to Kamara, because Man United still haven't appointed a manager and refused to buy him for Rangnick. Wanting Isaac over Kane is the same as wanting Crouch over Van Nistelrooy. Could have Sir Jurgen Pep in charge, but with the crap players we will be nowhere, says Manchester. We can sign Ronaldo within a few hours, but we can't sign a manager which costs much more lower than Ronaldo and longer time. What a joke, says Loven. Well, look, that brings me on to the next story I wanted to talk about. Story in the ESPN tonight saying that Pochettino is waiting on PSG to decide his future. And you're absolutely correct. The person who just said that there. We can move for Ronaldo in 48 hours to stop him going to Man City and sign one of the world's greatest players who has ridiculous merchandising rights and all sorts of things. But we can sort that deal out in 48 hours. But we can't sort a manager out in 5 months or 5 days of the international break. And it's funny because the bookies have got Ten Hag nailed on to come to United compared to Pochettino. And it's funny because you've got somebody was saying, I think it was Joshua Bowwater on That's Football, said, I'm 70% sure it's Ten Hag and I'm 30% it's Poch. I'd be the other way round. I'm actually quite scared at the moment that it's 70% Poch and 30% Ten Hag, because the next brief is key on the manager situation, says Dan. The next brief is key on the next manager situation. You're absolutely correct. But I feel that we are lurching towards a Pochettino scenario, because you're right. You can sign Ronaldo in 24 hours or 48 hours or however quick we did it. We interviewed Ten Hag on Monday and we still have no... I'm not saying he should be holding up a Man United scarf on the pitch because he's still an Ajax manager, but I think people are confused here because they're like they use it as a rod to beat you, saying, "What do you expect? Official Erik ten Hag is Man United manager." Well, we could do that. But what I expect is that we know he's our manager. Like that Romano or someone says the deal's done, he'll join later on. That could easily have happened, and United are clearly not at that point at the moment. And if they're not at that point at the moment, my fear is it's because they're trying to sort something out with Pochettino, which leads into this story from the ESPN saying that Pochettino can't clarify what his future is until PSG tell him what his future is. Obviously, he's PSG manager at the moment. PSG are going through a lot of thought process about what they want to do. There's talk of a massive restructure with Leonardo, their sporting director, leaving as well. And obviously, Pochettino is expected to leave, but PSG are not in any rush. They're not going to be dictated to by Manchester United's clock. So in many ways, we could be divisive. Sorry, I was right the first time. We could be decisive as a football club and just ignore what's going on at PSG and just go for Ten Hag. We could do that. But actually what it appears we're doing is Manchester United Football Club, with a much bigger history than PSG, is actually waiting on PSG to sort our future out. And if we are waiting for Pochettino, that is what we are doing. Manchester United Football Club is sat there with a bowl going, please, will you make a mind up because we'd like Poch, which is ridiculous. And also, let's not forget, we're waiting to take a manager who effectively has been sacked twice. But that's my fear. I might be completely wrong on that. I think there is enough evidence with United over the last 10 years to fear the worst. And at the moment, I fear the worst is that PSG are waiting to figure out who they want to replace Pochettino with. And when they've done that, we can have their scraps, which is effectively what the situation is. People can talk about his Premier League record. They can talk about what he did in 2015. They can talk about he knocked Ten Hag out of a bloody cup competition in the Champions League. They can clutch as many straws they want. But ultimately, we're waiting. If we are waiting for Pochettino, by the way, and it is an if we are waiting on Pochettino, we are waiting for PSG to give us the scraps they don't want. Effectively, we're like a dog under the table while our master eats their dinner. And we're waiting and waiting, and then they go, yeah, don't want that anymore, and they just feed us the scraps on the floor. That to me, you know, in newspapers where you get those anecdotal cartoonists who come up with a really funny cartoon about something political. You could literally do that with United. PSG on as their head, eating a lovely dinner, and United, the little lapdog under the table, waiting for the scraps to be thrown off to us. Because that's what my interpretation of it is, if we are waiting for Pochettino, when really that dog could turn into its own master and just be shaking hands with Ten Hag and acting like a big club. And it is a bit concerning. But look, I might be completely wrong. What I would say is, perfect analogy, says Shub. Well, that leftovers, it is. Whether Pochettino's a good manager or not, it's still leftovers. If Pochettino, and I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but if Pochettino had done well at PSG, he wouldn't give us a second look, and PSG wouldn't release him. We're waiting for their leftovers if we're waiting for him, and I know there's ex-players and club members and members of the press who love him, but he is the scraps off the plate of PSG. That's what he is, and we're waiting for them if that's what we're doing. I hope the bookies have got it right, and I hope it's Ten Hag. At this point, I'm thinking Ten Hag interview was done simply to appease the fans and buy them time, says Ren. But we're still hearing that United want to interview Luis Enrique. I can't think of an analogy for this. I will do. My mind works quite quick. It could be good, it could be bad. But this is a man, Luis Enrique, who is managing Spain in the World Cup at Christmas. And we want him to be our manager in the summer. It doesn't work. It can't work. It can't. It really can't. It doesn't matter whether they'd be good or not. You know what? It is an analogy. It's not as good as the table one. It's hard to do two in one show. But like, this would be like me knocking on the door, walking up I'll be panting by the time I get there. So a massive mansion. I've climbed over the gate. I've walked along the big drive. I knock on the door. I know the husband's not there. Wife comes to the door, and I said, "You are the woman of my dreams. I want you to marry me. Marry me now." And she goes, "What have you got me to offer?" "All I can offer you is my love. But I tell you what, with you by my side, we'll be millionaires." And they go, "I'm already a millionaire. Bye." That's a little bit like what we're doing with Luis Enrique, because what we're offering him is not enough as managing his national team in the World Cup. There is nothing we can offer him to take him away from that. It's a wasted journey. It's like me walking up that big mansion driveway and knocking on the door. It's wasted energy. Why would you interview Luis Enrique? There's absolutely no point to doing it. And I feel we are being spun, because we do get spun around a lot by this club. But if this ridiculous, I have spoke about Luke Shaw. I did it at the very start, Elias. I might go back on it in a few minutes, but it feels to me like the plan for United this week was, let's pretend we're interviewing loads of managers and we're doing a big search to try and buy us time for Poch, and that's where my fear comes from. So we interview Ten Hag at the start of the week. What happens for the rest of the week? We're interviewing other people, but then you're like, well, who are you interviewing? Oh yeah, Enrique and Lopetegui. If you give Lopetegui the job, you will get protests, instant protest. He'll get announced within 5 seconds. There'll be protests, so he ain't getting the job. Waste of time. Enrique can't do the job. I mean, effectively, they're waiting for Poch, aren't they? And that's the thing that terrifies me, the leftovers on the scraps. Anyway, look, one thing I did do today, I went on a lovely walk with Seb. We had an ice cream at the ice cream van, played a bit of football in the park. Lovely day in the UK, but that's not what I was going to tell you. That's just a nice story. I put a tweet out, just... Look, to be honest with you, there's no Premier League football today. It's a bit of a weird Saturday, isn't it? It's been quite a nice one. United can't disappoint us. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to put a tweet out. And I'm going to basically tell you what the results were, because it is quite interesting. So, because look, I've got people who follow me who are not United fans. So it could easily be sort of slightly disjointed. 50,000 votes, right? That's quite a lot. 50,000 votes, quite a lot. How are we feeling? And then I just put Ten Hag or Poch. 50,000 votes. 87% Ten Hag. 12% Poch. Well, 13% Poch. Now, there is a lot of people who follow me who are not United fans. Arsenal fans, Liverpool fans, Chelsea fans, whatever. If I was one of them, I would have voted for Poch. Because troublemaker, banter, whatever. So... that has probably been distorted. 87% to 13% has probably been distorted a little bit. But let's say it's correct. Let's even knock 2% off. 85% of people want Ten Hag as Manchester United manager. From 50,000 votes. That's nearly... well, it's well over half the capacity of Old Trafford. And let's not forget, Gary Neville did it the other day. And again, over 85% wants Ten Hag. There's been numerous polls, and they're all coming out at over 80% for Ten Hag. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer here, but do you know of a football club that, and they will be aware of it, God, let's not pretend United aren't aware. They can't appoint Poch and go, we didn't realise that you didn't want him. They analyse everything. They know everything. They know 85% of United fans want Ten Hag. They know that. You know. I don't need to tell you that. You know that, right? Okay. Do you think there is a football club out there that would appoint a manager that only 15% of the fans want? And do you think that's a wise thing to do? Now, I'm not saying that fans should be listened to on everything, because we do get things wrong. But, and look, can I just say as well, the fans always get the blame for Ollie. And I'm not having this. No Ten Hag, no future. That's how it feels like, says Richard. And a lot of in the case saying Ten Hag almost done thoughts, says J-Lings fan. I don't trust ITKs. You know why I don't? In the know Twitter accounts, I don't trust them. nothing against them, but I don't trust them, because why do you need to be a Twitter account called ITK or not give your real name? Because, and look, obviously Mark Goldbridge isn't my real name, people know that, but there's a reason for that, because I couldn't use my real name when I started doing it. But look, it's a name, you know what my face looks like. That's what I'm really saying. These in the know accounts that you don't know what the face looks like and you don't know what the name is, the reason I always think they're full of bullshit is because you don't need to do that. I know who David Ornstein is. He's one of the best journalists in the UK, and he breaks things. I know who Fabrizio Romano is. Why would I trust accounts that don't reveal who they are? And ultimately, you don't. If you are a proper good journalist with good sources, why would you not say who you are? But look, I'm not. Let's just go back to the good point. Do you think Real Madrid, or Barcelona, or PSG, or Juventus, or Bayern Munich, or Liverpool, if they had a choice between Gary Neville tweet with Ten Hag or Poch, 82% Ten Hag, says Liam. Yeah, and he's got a lot of people who follow him who are not United fans as well. So do you think any of those big clubs I've just named would go with Pochettino when they knew over 80% of their fan base wanted the other manager? That's my question to you. And there will be people who say, well, no, you shouldn't listen to your fans. You should ignore your fans. But not to that extent, surely. And also, can I just say as well, the board are hoping another club will take Ten Hag so they can look at us and say, well, we tried, says Oz. Maybe, you might be right there. PSG are planning to keep Poch anyways, don't worry, says Sulai. I hope so. But some people will say, well, the board shouldn't listen to United fans because United fans wanted Ollie. Whoa, we're stopping the horse again. Whoa, because I like doing that. Whoa, but I am not, as a football fan of United, taking the blame for Solskjaer, and neither should you. Solskjaer came in as the interim coach after Jose Mourinho, and Ed Woodward said when Mourinho got sacked, Ed Woodward said, we're going to appoint a manager in the summer and we're going to run a thorough process and we'll appoint a manager in the summer. Solskjaer did well. United fans got excited. They wrote a song and sang it. There's a video of me doing it outside Old Trafford. I can't lie. I was there. I sang it. Certain ex-players started doing invisible contracts saying sign it. Fine. There wasn't pressure. There wasn't protests. And there wasn't demands. United fans were saying give Ollie the job. But no one was going mad about it. Woodward decided to ignore his own statement of waiting till the summer and gave Solskjaer the job at the end of March. When I was seeing Ollie's at the wheel, I wasn't expecting us to hand him the bloody contract at the end of March. I would have always waited till the end of the season. So don't ever feel guilty that Solskjaer got the job and it was because of the fans. I would not have handed him that contract till the summer. And we know what happened. They gave him the contract at end of March. It looked like we were going to get top 4. We didn't. It fell apart as soon as they gave him the contract. The board gave Solskjaer that job too early. I wanted him to get the job. Many of us did. But they should have waited till the end of the season. So don't ever think that the fans pressured the board into giving Solskjaer the job. They decided to jump early and they decided to change their own advice. What they should have done is waited till the summer and done the proper process they were going to do. But they didn't. Going back to what I said before, if Barcelona had a situation where they were looking at 2 managers and 85% of their fan base wanted one particular manager, Barcelona would appoint that manager. Real Madrid would do it as well. Bayern Munich would do it. Juventus would do it. And I think Liverpool would do it as well. Because you can't ignore that weight of fan opinion. You just can't. It's too much of a landslide. You cannot ignore it. Man United may well ignore it. I'm scared they will ignore it. But I was thinking about it tonight before I went live and I thought I've got to bring it into the show because it's a landslide. It's a landslide of fan opinion to appoint a certain man who you've already interviewed. To ignore that, and I'm going to say it, I wasn't going to say it, but I'm going to say it. If they ignore that landslide and go for Pochettino, they are basically saying, we do not care what you think. We think we know best. And that will be the headline. And that can never be right in football. They did it with the Super League and look what happened. You cannot go to your fan base. We know the vast majority of you want a certain thing, but we think we know best and we're going to ignore you. It's never a good look. It's never a good look, is it? So it's a big, big decision, and it's a scary one to think that they might ignore it. But we are owned by the Glazers. That's the story. But I guarantee you, if this was a massive club like a Barcelona, like a Real Madrid, and there was such a weight of feeling for one manager, I don't think they'd go against that. I really don't. I might be wrong, but I don't think I am. Glazers' puppets are incompetent and useless regardless. Signings, players, managers, etc. They have no ambitions and plans, which is opposed to what they claim, says Benan. Good news is no matter who we get, we'll never be as bad a signing as Rafa Benitez, says Carl. Mark, what have you had for tea tonight, says Alfie? I had my dinner at lunchtime. I had chicken fajitas, and then I just had some bagels for tea. What do you think about Luke Shaw's comments, says Abdi? Well, what do you lot think about Luke Shaw's comments? I spoke about it at the start of the show. He basically said he enjoys it more for England at the moment. He feels more wanted. I actually read somebody saying, I've got to call it out. Somebody said, I don't blame Luke Shaw for enjoying it more for England. The fans are a lot less toxic than our fans. And I was like, oh, here we go again. I laugh at everybody who says that. You know, I actually have to put up with people saying to me, you're the reason United are where they are. And I'm like, oh my God. So I get the blame for United being crap, but I've got no power in us being good. It's like a double negative, isn't it? It's like the parable of the bloody unlucky twat, because I get the blame for United being where they are, but I've got absolutely no control in getting us back to where we need to be. I wouldn't mind getting the blame if I had some control in getting us back to where we need to be, but apparently because I moan about where we are, it's my fault where we are. And look, I am not having this anyway. If these United players don't like criticism, pack your bags and F off to Everton or wherever it is you want to play. Ask Southgate if you can live with him, and he won't pick you because you won't be playing domestic football, but there's a standard, and I always remember this. Cristiano Ronaldo said it, Paul Pogba said it. Paul Pogba said, I don't listen to critics because I'm my own biggest critic. Ronaldo has said pretty much the same. At the end of the day, one day you're the hero, one day you're the villain. Ultimately, it's about what you do. People have got a right to criticise you. People have got a right to praise you. My job is to make sure that people are praising me. Like, it's called elite mentality. If you are bothered by criticism, look at why you're getting criticised. Can any United player this season, can you name me a United player this season that's been criticised that don't deserve it? I actually can. I can give you one, actually. I actually can give you one straight away. But the vast majority of them, and I'm not naming names, I can't be arsed, who have been criticised deserve to be criticised. It's not an injustice. We haven't got the best player in the Premier League who everyone's going, oh, that was another shit performance. I know he scored 4 goals and got 3 assists, but he's absolutely shit. There's nothing like that going on. People are costing us games. People are playing badly. Good news is no matter who we get, it will never be as bad as signing as Rafa Benitez. I've done that one from Carl. And Mark, I think Ten Bag would get Bergwijn from Spurs. He tried to get him in January but didn't have the funds. So whenever he plays for Holland, he's brilliant. Can play numerous positions. I don't think that will happen, Mandy, to be honest with you. I do not. Mark, if Poch come, would you be sad and depressed, as Jayling's fan? I don't really want to think about it, mate, because until the reality happens, you know, it's like someone saying, if you go for a swim in the sea, you're going to get attacked by a shark. I'm not going to think about it until it actually happens. What's the point? The board want Poch as he will make do with the squad we've got, and Ten Hag will be too demanding for them. Well, I think that's one of my big fears, Oliver Barker. It really is. One of my biggest fears. But yeah, look, anyway, going back to the Luke Shaw thing, I like Luke Shaw. I do. Everyone knows I like Luke Shaw, and I'm sure pardon the pun, I'm sure he does prefer playing for England at the moment because the standards and expectations at United have not been met. There's a lot of dressing room unrest. I haven't got a problem with what Luke Shaw said, because at the end of the day, it only confirms what we already know. He's happier in the England dressing room than he is in the United dressing room. But we already know the United dressing room's divided and full of snakes and criticism and unhappiness. So he's only stating the truth. I I like Luke Shaw. I think he's a good player. But as I said before, I don't really have any sympathy for him because ultimately the standards of him have dropped massively this year. And he's got to look at himself. He didn't start the season well. And he's never really recovered. Like, he's got to look at himself on his own form, like a lot of players. But, you know, Luke Shaw probably wants Pochettino. Maybe Pochettino can go to Spurs and sign Luke Shaw. I don't want to sell Luke Shaw. I like Luke Shaw. But if you said to me, would you rather Luke Shaw was reunited? Luke Shaw will definitely be reunited with Pochettino next season. Do you want it to be at United or Spurs? I'd say Spurs. I don't want Pochettino that much. I would lose Luke Shaw. I like Luke Shaw, but I would. I don't want him. Do you think... I don't want Poch. Do you think there is a fear with the board about supporting Ten Hag because he won't be a yes man, unlike other candidates like Poch as Howell? I think Pochettino is a proven yes man, and I think that's probably why they like him as well. If only there was no World Cup so we could hire Southgate, we would get the best out of this team. You know what, Rash? The scary thing is we probably would interview Southgate. And I tell you now, I would beg Pochettino to come to us over Southgate. So, yeah. At least we are looking at two decent managers, one of which I think is head and shoulders above in Ten Hag. But Luke Shaw will get a load of hate now, and I don't think it's right. I think he's just been honest. But what I would say is don't compare England to Manchester United. I suppose that's what I should have said from the very start. Man United's up here. England's down here. Don't ever compare England to Manchester United. You know, if you were going on loan to Man City or Liverpool and you said that it's a better club with a better dressing room, then I'd be very pissed off. But don't compare England to Man United. International football, England under Southgate, fucking hell. He wouldn't get a job in the Premier League, Luke. Don't talk to me about... Oh, I love it when we go to England duty. He lets us stay up and play Uno. I'm not interested. Oh, he lets us watch Netflix. I don't care. He provides the popcorn. Couldn't give a toss. England against Man United. It's international football against proper football. It's Gareth Southgate. Like, I'm not... No one... It's like going on holiday. It really is, isn't it? Manchester United's hard work. It's hard work even when you're doing well. That's your day job. I think, what do you prefer? The 49 weeks a year that you work or the 3 weeks that you go on holiday? I think England's a holiday to these players, and I think that's why he enjoys it. So I'm not even that bothered about what he said. England would beat United. What you talking about? Mate, they wouldn't beat it. They would not beat us at all. With Southgate in charge, I tell you what, if England were managed by a decent coach, I'd be worried. But international football's wank. It's wank. I don't even like international football. I'll watch it when the World Cup's on because it's a bubble, or the Euros, but I don't. Most Man United fans don't like international football. Most Liverpool fans don't like international football. Man United, for me, are on the streets way ahead of England. I tell you what, I'd rather win the Premier League than the World Cup every day of the week. Every day of the week. I'm not interested in winning the World Cup ahead of the Premier League. And international football managed by Gareth Southgate. I've just wasted 2 hours of my life. In fact, I'm so grateful that Formula 1 qualifying was on at the same time. It is boring. Boring shit football. I could bloody coach England better than he does. It's bullshit, boring. No wonder the players love it. It's a piece of piss. Oh, just get back into position and try and keep a clean sheet and we'll just try and build the ball up slowly, get a set piece or a penalty. Bullshit, crap, wank football. Can't be arsed with it. Can't stand England's football under Southgate. I hope we win the World Cup because I'm English, but God, it's boring. I don't know what it's like for anybody else. I mean, we might have some Brazilians watching, Mexicans, Americans, Australians, Indians, whatever. You know, even Canadians, you probably play better football. And I know some people really do love their football. But for me, I just find it as an embarrassment. But you pulled me back in there. Shaw been here for 8 years, had one good season, says Jayling's fam. No, I like Luke Shaw. I don't think he's really said anything bad. Just in relation to that game, though, I must just say, and it is international football, but I think a few people got to see Akanji. And I just wanted to know if you did watch England against Switzerland, what did you think about Akanji tonight? Because I know some of you might not have seen a lot of Akanji. He's 26, he's 27 in the summer. He was up against Harry Kane a lot today. Look, you don't learn a lot from watching him play for Switzerland. You don't. international football's slower than Premier League football by a very long way. But he's okay. He's okay. I mean, I just think he would come into the England team. Sorry, I think he would come into the United squad and sit on the bench. I still think we would see Maguire and Varane as first choice. And I would like us to buy a centre-back that actually comes in. I think if you buy a player, they should be a player that's going to compete for the first team. I remember when we bought... God, that's not me trumpet, by the way. Look, I can't do it now. I polished my seat before. There you go, I did it again now. I polished my seat today, and I never realised when I move on it, it makes these noise. So now I have to tell you that it's actually my seat. I'm a firm believer that when you buy a player, when we bought Varane, Juan Sebastian Varane, the Argentinian player under Sir Alex Ferguson, we already had Keane and Scholes, and I was like, what are we going to do? And we had Beckham and Giggs. I was like, well, we can't play all 5 of them. And sometimes we did. We played one up front and we tried to do it. But the great thing about that was that, well, who's going to be on the bench? Because you've got all these good players. I don't think you should ever buy a player who's going to be a backup. I think you should always buy a player that could be the first team player and competes, and then somebody ends on the bench. I feel with Akanji, we're buying the bench centre-back. We're replacing Eric Bailly straight away, which will just end up with Akanji being Eric Bailly, where he never really starts. If we're going to replace Eric Bailly, I would buy somebody who can come into that team and potentially be a starting centre-back. And then just say, fight it out to Maguire, the new signing, Lindelof and Varane. But I think with Akanji, we might be buying that centre-back who automatically just becomes a bench centre-back. And that's never going to improve your squad. If you're buying bench players, you're never going to improve your squad. We should buy first-team players in every position. That's why I'd like to buy Nunez up front, because for me, he's a first-team starter. Obviously, if Ronaldo's here, it makes it quite difficult. But why not buy the player? Again, I think we'll do it with striker as well. We'll buy a bench striker, won't we? We'll probably buy a striker that's a bench striker, when actually we should buy a striker that's good enough to compete and let them compete. So, yeah, Akanji looks all right. I'm not going to moan about it, but I don't know whether he's good enough. And as I said, he'll be 27 by the time he joins us. But he's all right. He's all right, Akanji. I'm not going to say he's shit. I'm not going to say he's a world beater, but he's all right. I just don't think he's really going to pull up trees for us, if you know what I mean. Only Van Dijk would bench Maguire at United, says Obi. Eric Bailly doesn't get the credit he deserves. No, he doesn't, Leroy. I think he's been wasted at United. I personally think Eric Bailly is better than Harry Maguire. I've said that before. I know people disagree with me on that, but I do. I think he's better. Ten Hag is a more long-term project compared to Pochettino, so as a rival fan, I'd rather you guys get Ten Hag, says Ash. And no matter how you moan, you guys are miles behind Bruno in this area. Don't even know what that means, Leslie. Get Ronaldo, get Ronaldo, Araujo, proper baller. I don't think that's going to happen. Hero, I think Barcelona will end up getting him, to be honest. Not enough talk about CDMs. Well, I'll say this to you, actually. I feel that the CDM situation is exactly the same as the managerial situation. I feel United are waiting for Pochettino, and I feel United are waiting for Declan Rice. And actually, we shouldn't be waiting for Rice, and we shouldn't be waiting for Pochettino. But I really think we are. I think we could get Ten Hag, and we could go for a different CDM, and we could sort it out very quickly. But I think we're waiting for Poch, we're waiting for the leftovers from PSG, and I think we're waiting to see if Declan Rice will join us. And the scary thing is, we shouldn't be doing that with either of them, and we could end up with neither of them. But I feel like if I was a good artist, I'd draw the picture and I'd put it on Twitter. You got somebody eating at the plate, and United are just waiting for the scraps under the table. I think we're waiting for Poch and we're waiting for Declan Rice, and we might not end up with them. We really should be assertive. You're never going to be successful waiting for the scraps of your rivals. You're not. The only way to be successful is to fight your way back up to that table and push them away and start eating. That's the only way back. But I don't think Declan Rice will come to United. I think it'd be foolish to come to United. As much as I like him, I'd advise him to steer clear. But players don't always take that advice, do they? Evening Goldbridge, says Kev. Kev, how are you doing, pal? I bet you've got a drink on the go. Cheers, pal. Hope you're doing well. In fact, cheers to all of you. I'm actually going to shoot and watch a film. It's Saturday night, isn't it? And I don't need to worry about United ruining it. So, yeah. Why are people talking about Eriksen? I can see people going on about Eriksen, and I've got no idea what it's got to do with. So, people are just going, Eriksen, Eriksen, Eriksen. Got no idea. I love the chat sometimes when they just go off on a random. I've got absolutely no idea. But yeah, as predicted, there are a lot of people sort of going in on Luke Shaw tonight. But Luke Shaw's a divisive player anyway. Some people like him, I like him. Some people don't like him. It's all about it's all about opinion, I suppose. Oh, Eriksen came on for Holland. Well done to him. Okay, got nothing to do with Manchester United, but it's a nice story, I suppose. Well, it is a nice story. It is a nice story. But thanks everyone for watching. Take care, everybody. I'm back on the show tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. I've got the Sunday night show tomorrow night. Ricky's going to be on that one. And I'm off to watch a movie. I'm either going to watch... Well, I'm not going to tell you because someone will do the spoilers. I'll tell you tomorrow. Thanks everyone for watching. Really good show. Remember, we are potentially owned by owners who would ignore 85% of their fan base. That's what we're talking about here. That's the headline. Would Barcelona, would Real Madrid, would Bayern Munich, would Liverpool ignore 85% of their fan base and go for the manager that only 15% want? Some people would say, well, yeah, why not do it? Why should they listen to the fans? But if they do go with Pochettino, remember the headline is this: we don't care what you think, we know best. That's the line of Manchester United if they go with Pochettino. And you might be a fan who wants Pochettino, and that's absolutely fine, but you're in the minority and the majority is being ignored. Is that what this board is going to do? Are they seriously going to go against the vast majority of their fan base again? Like they did a year ago with the Super League. Are they really going to do that again? It's a brave, brave move. A stupid one, but let's wait and see. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on the morning show. Enjoy whatever you're doing and take care. And don't forget the clocks are going forward. So the 10 o'clock show tomorrow will actually be, oh God, 9 o'clock. Really? Ugh.